Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. NFL football is back. It's week 1 of NFL DFS on DraftKings, and I have your first look just for you, just like we do every year on this channel. Welcome back to all of those of you who've been waiting in hibernation for NFL DFS to return. We are finally here. I'm going to take a look at building a tournament lineup in week 1. Remember, I don't care who you play. I care how you play. We're going to build a double stack lineup with a bring back and include a secondary stack as well, and try to build a lineup as a first look here on Monday that's going to bring us through all the way through to the weekend. Again, some of these plays may not be what you want to play. That's fine. Play whoever you want. If you don't like the players that I've put in this lineup, play whoever you want. And let's go.
He's a legend.
Just like last season, we are trying to raise a lot of money for charity. You can see on the bottom bar below me, we have a goal as a community of $100,000 this year. Last year, the goal was $50,000. You guys absolutely smashed it. So we're going to bump it up. But there's some caveats. If you donate to No Kid Hungry, there will be a link down below in the description. You can always find the link to that, the Listener League, and everything else in smizzle.tv/links. That'll be the pinned comment right down below. Go check it out. Links to all my socials, as well as our fundraiser for No Kid Hungry through Tiltify. For every $10,000 that our community raises, I will match $10,000. So if you guys can put up 50K, I will put up 50K of my own money. We will get to 100K together. We have all football season to do it until December 31st. So be a part of something that's bigger than yourself. We play this silly game. Let's try and make some kids' lives better as well, who are food insecure and don't have access to where their next meal is coming from. I know that we can do it. I believe in you guys. Let's get to the video. The Smiz Gang Listener League is back up for week 1. People were asking me all August, Al, are you going to have a Listener League this year? Yes, we're going to have a Listener League this year. Al, when is the Listener League going to be up? It's up, okay? The league is up. 4,000 entries. It's a $10 league. It says free tickets. I have like a $10 ticket somewhere. $40,000 in prizes and no rake. Zero rake whatsoever. So make sure you get in that. You can find that in the links on the link tree. Smizzle.tv/links will take you there. There will always be a link to that and everything else that I do. You can find the charity link in there. You can find the Listener League link in there. Best Buys link is going to be in there, as well as every one of my socials. Go follow me on Instagram. And other than that, let's just look at who we got at the lineup, right? So we have a bunch of games on this slate that are going to be slow and sluggy, and DraftKings actually did a very good job, in my opinion, of pricing the quarterbacks. Sometimes they don't. Right? Sometimes there's guys that fall through the cracks, but like all of the quarterbacks that have team totals of like 25 and above, the Chargers at 28, the Chiefs at 28.5, the Eagles at 25.5, the Ravens at 26, all those guys are sitting up here. So like Patrick Mahomes in the highest totaled game on the slate with a total of 53.5. As I said, the Chiefs favored by 4, 28.5 here. They're not going to run the ball a ton, and they face off against, there's 3 teams. We've spoken in past years about how I think that the Dallas Cowboys have been the fantasy carnival, basically meaning that their offense is really, really good. So that's a start. And then their defense has not been really, really good, and they've allowed other teams to score a lot of points, and then other teams can't stop their offense. So then those games have a high potential of shooting out, which makes them great for GPPs, tournaments, those high scoring games where you can get these massive outcomes, right? And so stacking those games or double stacking the quarterback along with them makes sense. There are 2 other teams that I think are fantasy carnival worthy this year. One would be the Arizona Cardinals, with everything that they lost off of that defense. They're not going to be as prolific a defense as they were last season, and they do project to give up an awful lot of points. And the Kansas City Chiefs. So we have 2 carnival type teams that are playing against each other. It has the highest total. This game would not shock me if it had over 60 real life points. If you want to double stack Mahomes, go for it. He is the most expensive quarterback. He will be popular for good reason. Same thing can be said for Justin Herbert.
He's a legend.
Raven, thank you very much for the 17 months. Same thing can be said for Justin Herbert. Projects to lead the league in touchdowns this season via DK Sportsbook and their futures and their props betting and everything else like that. We know that he's got great weapons to throw to with Keenan Allen, with Williams, with Austin Eckler, if you wanted to include a running back because of how much usage he gets in the passing game. They added Gerald Everett, who's a quality tight end. Like, Herbert's going to do Herbert things, and he's not a statue quarterback, so he gives you a little bit of rushing upside. Not like a ton, but he does have touchdown upside on the ground. He can add like 20 to 40 yards rushing, but it's not going to be consistent like it is with somebody like Lamar Jackson. Whether or not you want to double stack Lamar Jackson, look, like I said, play whoever you want. But here's the key, right? Like, can you stack a guy like Lamar Jackson, or can I just play Lamar Jackson by himself in a tournament? I don't think that's a smart idea. And here's why. If you're playing a quarterback in a tournament, you're playing that quarterback because you think that they have the ability to get you 30 to 40 fantasy points. And if Lamar Jackson has a day where he gets you 30 to 40 fantasy points, like 35 here against Minnesota, he is probably going to be able to sustain carrying 2 pass catchers along with him, right? On a day where he has 16 fantasy points, or 13 fantasy points, or 18 fantasy points, you're not winning that GPP anyway if you played Lamar Jackson stacked or unstacked, right? If you played naked Lamar Jackson in weeks 10, 12, 13 last year, you weren't winning a tournament anyway. But if he has 35 points and you played him without a stack, you've still got to beat people at those other positions, and you're not going to have the low percentage guy that you should possibly be getting in those spots who is going to be linked with Lamar Jackson because everybody else is talking them off of those plays. So yeah, I'm going to double stack running quarterbacks if I think that they have viability to win a tournament. Aaron Rodgers, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to play him because of the possibility that it allows you to get a piece of one of the higher scoring games that should be one of the lower percentage played highest scoring games, if that makes sense to you, right? So like the highest scoring games on this slate: Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs, Cardinals, Eagles, and Lions, right? Those are the ones that are going to be the highest. I think that Eagles Lions is going to be like the third, and that leaves Packers Vikings with a total of 48 and a spread of 2, meaning a game that could go back and forth. There's expected to play closely, which usually leads to a little bit faster play at the end of halves. And Aaron Rodgers, who is prolific at throwing the football, it gives you a lower percentage played double stack or bring back, gives you access to guys like Justin Jefferson in that stack. Doubs is going to be a very popular play, especially if he's starting. I'm projecting him to start opposite Lazard. So I'm acting as if that's happening at least on this Monday. Man, we've had a flurry of subs. M. Gill, Beefy, and Snapping Giant. Thank you guys very much for the resubs on the channel, the subs and the resubs on the channel. So you're going to get a really premium stack, but at a lower percentage than, say, a Kyler double or a Patrick Mahomes double or a CARR double or a Herbert double. So that's the value in going for that. But Aaron Rodgers is still extremely expensive this week. We're going to get to Jalen Hurts. You obviously know that we're going to go with Jalen Hurts because he was the cover boy. So like, there's no point in staying there with that. I think Joe Burrow is going to be an extremely popular one. One, because his price is down versus those high dollar guys. Like, he's 1,000 less than like Lamar and Herbert and Mahomes. And you know that he's got 300 yard, 3 touchdown upside, and you know where the ball's going to go. So double stacking him is pretty easy with Chase and Higgins, or double H, Hayden Hurst, if you wanted to go that route. Cousins, if you want, again, another cheap option where you know where the ball's going, right? We have 3, possibly 4 options. You're not going to play the running back with this double stack. I don't like playing running backs with double stacks. So typically speaking, Cousins, Jefferson, then Thielen, then the tight end Irv Smith. He's assumed that he is going to play. And if you wanted to get really freaking go with KJ Osborne, like, fine, to get you some differentiation in a double, because he could have a game where he pays off as well. Derek Carr, 5,900. We have to monitor Waller in this situation. He may or he may not play. We don't know. It's still up in the air. The team is non-committal to whether or not he's going to be ready to go in week 1 based on either the hamstring injury that he's had, whether it's real or whether it was just a contract ploy or not. If he does not play, then that consolidates the targets that are going to be going and being dished out by Derek Carr, basically to Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. So like, it's very easy for Jesse Pinkman to throw the ball to just 2 guys as opposed to having one more guy that he could have as an option. The best, in my opinion, I mean, I know people always want me to talk about every quarterback. It's like, you didn't talk about this guy. I'm not going to talk about every single player on a first look. But Daniel Jones, 5K, I think he's in cash game consideration. The game is a little bit slow. The game is a little bit low totaled, but he does have players that are at a value. With Wandale at 3K, who, because of the injuries at the position, seems viable. Kadarius Toney at 4,100. And a lot of people probably going to be on Saquon Barkley. So if you wanted to play him, possibly, his doubles, possibly as a contrarian play, I'm not totally against it. I think it's a fine way to go if you wanted to, and then load up somewhere else in your secondaries in terms of salary. But the best leverage play on the slate looks like it's going to be Matty Ice. because I think that everybody's going to flock to Jonathan Taylor, and for good reason, with the Colts being 8.5-point favorites, a total of 27.5, which is our team total of 27.5, which is the third highest team total on the slate. If they score 35 points, it's possible, but highly improbable that Jonathan Taylor is going to score 5 rushing touchdowns. Like, it could happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But, like, what if Taylor has, like, 120 yards and 1 touchdown, and Matt Ryan throws for 3 or 4? And everybody's going to play Taylor, which means they're not going to play Matt Ryan because he's not one of the sexy quarterbacks. And then they're definitely not going to double stack him. And then who are you going to bring it back with on Houston? I think that this is the best leverage quarterback on the slate. But we're going to go with Jalen Hurts. QB1 through the first 8-9 weeks of the season last year. Definitely beefed up the passing game around him with A.J. Brown, moving Devontae Smith into a secondary role. Goddard still going to get a lot of volume. They have guys that can get separation and get open and then win after the catch, as well as win at the catch point and get separation and get open, which, strangely enough, is probably going to help out Jalen Hurts' accuracy a whole lot when he doesn't have to throw to guys who aren't open and doesn't have guys, all apologies to Jalen Reagor, who dropped a lot of passes last year, specifically some touchdowns and first downs that would have extended drives. So a much better passing group to go along with him. And I like the fact that this is the third highest totaled game on the slate, meaning that it's going to have likely less percentage on this double and bring back than a Chiefs Cardinals one or a Raiders Chargers one, which I think are going to be the most popular doubles and bring back. Hurts is going to be popular as a standalone, but no quarterback typically goes over 20%. I would expect him to be in the 10 to 12% range this weekend. We're going to have to stack somebody with him. I'm going to avoid A.J. Brown. Am I going to avoid A.J. Brown? Nah, I'm not going to avoid A.J. Brown. I'm just going to play A.J. Brown, right? Let's keep it simple, right? We're going to go to A.J. Brown, the GAM. This may or may not be a high volume passing attack, right? Like on the season, they're not going to throw it a ton, but we've seen games where like Jalen Hurts is thrown it 35 plus times whenever they've had to get into these situations. And if he does that, this is a game where, you know, we can win a tournament. But Al, what about the weeks he only threw for 26 times? Well, he scored 12 fantasy points. Well, what if he runs it in a lot? If they score 30 real life points in this game and he has 4 touchdowns on the ground and doesn't throw any, then yeah, double stack's not going to work. But what is the probability of that? If Jalen Hurts scores between 30 and 40 DraftKings points, map out for you how that's going to look. That means he's going to be at or approaching 300 yards passing. That means he's going to run for like 70, probably with a touchdown. And he's going to have 3 passing touchdowns. He's going to have one of those monster days. Even if he has 2 passing touchdowns, if he completes 25 to 30 passes on the day, we know that it's going to go to a couple of guys. And I'm going to bank on Goddard at 4,500 to get us a little bit of salary relief, as well as A.J. Brown. Bringing it back on the Lions, we have a couple of options. 1, 2 to be specific that I think are the highest probability options. If you wanted to go with Hawkinson over Goddard, fine. Do it your way. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God, ended last season with a flurry of targets, and here come the replies. Hawkinson and Swift didn't play in those games. Yes, we know. Everybody knows. He's also still a very good player. He's fine. I'm going to choose to take the value at 6,800 with DeAndre Swift, a game flow independent running back, meaning that if they're winning, it's likely that DeAndre Swift did some things with the football and possibly wandered into the painted area, which is good for us in fantasy. We want guys that kind of find their way to the painted area. And also, if they're playing from behind in this game, as they do project to as 4-point underdogs, although they are at home, DeAndre Swift should get more usage in the passing game. And with targets worth more than carries for running backs, I don't care if DeAndre Swift, I don't want him getting 20 carries. I want him in this range, this 10 to 15 carry, 5 to 8 target range, which gives us a really high floor with the opportunity of a really high ceiling if he was to break a long touchdown or score a couple. I believe that this triple here, this double stack with Hurts and a bring back with Swift, I don't want him in the flex, I want him in the running back, allows us enough access to this game, a very high totaled game, leaving us with $5,100 on the board to go after a couple of other positions. Let me just grab a defense. You guys know that we want to play cheaper defenses. Let's find a home defense. They're fine, the Commanders. Great. I'll focus in more on defense as the week goes on. It's Monday. Just realize that we're going to play a cheap D in a tournament lineup. That's pretty much what we want to do. So I'll go with the Commanders at 2,500. If a better defense is out there later in the week, let's take a look at some other running backs here. And there's obviously ones that are really expensive. I think that Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey. You know, do you like chocolate ice cream or do you like vanilla ice cream? I don't mean that from a racially perspective. If you like strawberry or if you like butter pecan. I don't care which flavors you use. They're the two cash game guys to look at. You can actually get both of them and play team jam them in if you wanted to, because both of them have such a high floor and a high ceiling because of their touchdown ability. Christian McCaffrey has much usage in the passing game as any running back has ever seen. And Jonathan Taylor, a high volume running back, the most inside the 5 carries last season, 8.5-point favorites over a team that he throttled last year. 28 DraftKings points against them at Houston in week 13, and then in week 6, 31.8 DraftKings. It's not like he only beats up on Houston. He's not a schoolyard bully. He beats up on literally everybody, specifically when they play from ahead, whether it's at home or on the road. I know that our 5 boxes for running backs being, does he project to get over 20 touches? Does he have involvement in the passing game? Yes, he does, but less so when they play from ahead. Are they favored? Are they playing at home? All those sorts of, does he get inside the 5 carries? He checks off 4 of those 5 boxes on a week in, week out basis. He is, along with McCaffrey, your top 2 cash game running backs. Because of which, I don't want to play either of them in my tournament lineup that we're going to make today. Just know that if you're playing cash games, it starts with minimum 1, possibly 2 of those guys. Austin Eckler, 8,200. Love this situation for tournaments. If you wanted to stack him with the quarterback, like, you can, but it's not. There's a lot of data that points to a running back stack with the quarterback does not end up in the top 1% or the top 100 lineups in the Millionaire Maker. But I think that we have to understand that those stats encompass every quarterback running back combination in the league in total, much like the correlation matrix when it comes to running backs being negatively correlated to their quarterback. There are certain running backs, however, historically, guys like Marshall Faulk, Matt Forte, currently guys like Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey. As long as a running back I can project for over 15% of the target market share from the quarterback of their targets, I'm okay playing that guy with a quarterback in a stack. There will be other content creators who tell you that that is a plague and do not do it. I think it's situational and way more contextual than just a binary yes or no decision. Make your decisions however you want, play whoever you want. You're the one who's going to click submit on your lineups. So build the lineups that you are happiest. Dalvin Cook, fine as a standalone. You're going to have to find some value on Green Bay. Shocker, there is value on Green Bay. The fact that they were entertaining trade offers on Madison makes me believe that they do intend to give a massive heavy dose to Dalvin Cook as long as he's healthy, which has and hasn't worked out in the past. He was like the number 2 pick last year. He's a first-round pick this year, 7.8 ADP right now. And Green Bay does look like a really tough defense. So he does have that working against him in this game. However, this does look like one of the higher scoring games on the slate. So we're going to have to see, does the reputation of Green Bay's defense hold the total on this game down? Or should we not be playing a running back against them? I think that he is going to be a fine tournament play. Might be, we're going to have to look at where projections end up on tournament percentages later in the week, because if they are super low on Dalvin Cook, he may be one of my 5 under 5 on the weekend. Anybody that's got a high ceiling and a low percentage are players that I want to invest in tournaments to overweight the field. So like if the field's going to be on like 3% Dalvin Cook, I might have like 10 or 12% in my 150 lineups. Coming down the list a little bit, James Conner. Love this play. Going up against Kansas City. Mentioned the carnival atmosphere on both sides of this. James Conner, anytime they get inside the 5, is somebody that we are going to be targeting. A lot of running backs priced up. Harris dealing with an injury. Monitor this all week long, right? Like if he's fine and he's playing and there's nothing structural that's wrong with him going into this weekend, then I'm fine playing Najee Harris. I think that if you're building with a lineup builder, like if you use Fantasy Labs as your lineup builder, as I do, then it's going to end up with a lot of him, especially if you use the lineup building guide that I put out. There'll be a pop-up up there in the corner. How to use a lineup builder to build a bunch of lineups. And the rules that I build is like, if I'm using a wide receiver on team A, then it's going to pair them, whether the quarterback's involved or not, with somebody on the other team. And Harris is going to pop because of how much he was used in the passing game. I know that Pittsburgh doesn't have a good offensive line. Their offensive line was trash last year too, and he still averaged 17.6 fantasy points per game with a noodle-armed Ben Roethlisberger. At least he's got a stronger armed quarterback this year that can move safeties off the line a little bit more. He should run against a little bit lighter boxes this season versus last. Hey, if you guys are still watching the video, do me a favor. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell. You know, Leave me a reply down below. Let me know which double stack you want to use this week. So I'm not scared of Najee Harris, but like for me, it's more about where he is health-wise. Because like if it's not structural, they got a lot of great drugs at the NFL level that are going to have him ready to play. Now there are two players in this range. First, I want to look at the cheaper because I know that people want to talk about it. Everybody's favorite running back right now through August, the guy that's flown up draft boards, his ADP skyrocketing from like 140 to like 40. He's gone up like 100 spots, right? Is Dameon Pierce. He's 4,800. He projects to get a lot of volume for this Houston team. However, I think he could be a trap in week 1. I think he's going to be one of the most overplayed players in tournaments in week 1. That doesn't mean I'm saying that you have to fade him. I need to see what the public thinks. I think that week 1 skews very much towards who people are drafting, who the hype beasts are, who everybody's on through the month of August, which is going to lead to higher percentages in tournaments. And I typically don't want to play running backs on teams that are 8.5 point underdogs, whether they're at home or on the road, because like he could easily get scripted out of this and end the day with like 55 yards rushing and 2 catches on 12 carries, like with no touchdowns. Now, if he scores touchdowns or he breaks a long one, and he's been good at breaking tackles in the preseason, that's fine. I think he takes or is going to require a much longer look this week than just he's 4,800 and he's the starting running back, play him, because I think a lot of other people are just going to play him too, which makes me kind of want to play somebody that maybe is going to make you throw up a little bit in your mouth with all the bad press that he's had so far this summer. But right now, due to situations that were out of his control, Antonio Gibson is the starting running back for the Washington Commanders. He's 5,800. Jacksonville might have an improved defense this year, but they might not. He is basically a $5 running back here in week 1. Commanders favored by 3. Not a really high totaled game, but he does project to get you about or over 20 touches this game. They know that he is really good in the passing game, especially because if Brian Robinson Jr. was fully healthy for this spot, we had a situation where Brian Robinson Jr. was going to play on 1st and 2nd down, and their goal this season for Antonio Gibson was to get him a lot more involved in the passing game, throw him a lot more passes, which we want. So now if he's going to be the starting running back, and they already had an eye on getting him more usage in the passing game, with as much as Rivera likes to use his running backs inside the 5-yard line, Antonio Gibson looks like a very good play in week 1. So I'm going to click him. I'm sorry if you're raging right now. If your bile duct is just exploding at this point, that's where I'm at. It's nice because for this first look, it also correlates with my commander stack in that spot. So I've got a secondary stack here, even though that was not the goal of my secondary stack with this spot. I did have something that I wanted to tell you guys about. Go check out our promotion that we have going on at rotowire.com. They're offering everybody in the Smizz Gang a free 2-day all-access pass to their site. So if you're watching this and games haven't kicked off on Thursday and you have your fantasy football league coming up, use that promo code. It is down below. It is smizzle.tv/rotowire, all lowercase letters. And no credit card even required for this one. You have access to everything that they have on their site. If you're playing daily fantasy baseball, you can get their DFS stuff. If you're playing your fantasy football league, you can print out all of their tools. And actually, you can put auction values if you're doing an auction or make draft software based on the rules that you have specific to your league. So go check out the free 2-day trial that they have over on RotoWire just for you. I can't do better than free. They're giving you something completely for free. I can't do better than free. It's there. I mentioned how I did want to take advantage of some value that exists on Green Bay. And I do want to get shares of one of my favorite players, Justin Jefferson. He's really good. He's always freaking open and is extremely expensive. So why does that matter to me? I think that people are going to struggle to want to click really high-priced receivers on this slate because of the presence of the high-priced running backs and running backs having a higher floor, but an equal ceiling to the really high-priced wide receivers. So if I can nab Justin Jefferson at a price where most people are not going to be willing to click and pay up to be contrarian without being stupid in this spot, if everybody's paying up at running back, you should pay up at wide receiver. It's very simple to do things differently and still have access to a really high point ceiling if everything clicks your way. There are other wide receivers that we could go into. I did a full wide receiver breakdown. That is on the channel as well. Week 1 wide receivers. I went through like every single wide receiver. It's a long video. Go check that one out if you want it, which means we're going to have to find some value because I only have $4,700 average remaining player for a wide receiver and a flex. Luckily, because I want a secondary stack here, DraftKings, when they put the pricing out, we had not gotten deep into camp at that point. It was like August the 1st when they came out with pricing. So the legend of Romeo Doubs was not a thing yet, and Christian Watson was playing, and Watkins was there, and Cobb was 3,400. But right now, it appears that Romeo Doubs is going to be starting opposite Allen Lazard in week 1. Now, if he's not starting in week 1, if he's not going to play a lot in week 1, if the news changes from where we are right now on Monday to kick off on Sunday, if Romeo Doubs is not going to be the guy that personally I'm projecting for like 6 to 8 targets this week, 6 to 8 targets for $3,000 on DraftKings is pretty freaking free. That's basically a free square if that's the type of usage that he's going to get in a very high totaled game with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. I know historically Aaron Rodgers has not thrown the ball to rookie wide receivers, but there's two things in play here. One, Aaron Rodgers has not had this thin a wide receiver room when guys like Jordy Nelson or Devontae Adams were rookies. And two, we did have that narrative before Christian McCaffrey's rookie season with the Panthers. Hey, Cam Newton just doesn't throw the ball to running backs out of the backfield. He only throws the ball to wide receivers. Yeah, but he hasn't had this situation before. And Aaron Rodgers has not had this situation before. So Romeo Doubs right now does project to be one of the better value plays in week 1. And I can stomach the percentage that may be on him if he is going to be as hyped as he is one of those big hype beasts during this month, during draft month. Like, he could carry a large percentage, but I'm going to pair him with Jefferson, who doesn't, as well as all these other plays who I don't think will, which means I can stomach a little more of a percentage. I've got a flex play to go with, and I have what, 6,400 remaining? We can get there. Can't afford any of these guys, but if we come down here to like 6,400 and down, Najee Harris is in play. If he's there and healthy, fine. Josh Jacobs, probably not going to play him. Cooks is fine if I was going with like a Pittman Cook stack or to get different from all the Jonathan Taylors. Madison's a backup. I like how they priced him, but that's not what I'm looking for. Marquise Brown, fine in this spot, but I'm going to go with Saquon. They just don't have anybody else. If you want to go with Brown or you want to go with Najee, that's fine with me. I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. I'm expecting a monster season from him. I know this isn't a super fast-paced game, and I know that he's on the road, but again, 6 targets or more is very possible for Saquon Barkley. He is the only show in town on what should be a much improved offense this year. All the injuries to the wide receivers only bolsters the 15+% of market share that I project for Saquon Barkley in this spot. I'm going to go with him and lock in one of those late game guys in this spot to give me a little bit of PMR on top of the Jefferson and Doubs spot. Hurst double stacked with Brown and Goddard, bringing him back with Swift. Antonio Gibson is a standalone. Jefferson Doubs is a secondary. Barkley is a standalone in the Commanders defense. Go with the cheap defense because really highly variant. Bye. He's a legend.